Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's OER Champion Showcase. My name is Ginelle Baskin. I am the Student Success and Open Education Librarian in the Walker Library. We're celebrating Open Education Week this week, so we're excited to highlight the amazing OER work that's happening right here at MTSU. Our engineering technology faculty, so we'll do Dr. Elissa Ledoux and Dr. Hongbo Zhang.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Elissa. I'm teaching mechatronics engineering here at MTSU, and I'm going to talk about two OER projects because I was on two different teams over this past year. So I first discovered OER last year when Tennessee Board of Regents released a grant. And I just was on the mass email that they sent out, and I thought, oh, open educational resources like free textbooks sounds like such a great idea. So basically I found the grant, I found some collaborators and launched a couple of projects. So the two projects that I did that I'm going to talk about today, one is where I was leading a team to do an engineering capstone book with some collaborators at East Tennessee State University, Mo and Uden, Nick Matta, and Matthew Shepard. And then another project that I'm on is Dr. Hongbo Zhang is leading here at MTSU, and I'm collaborating with him, and then we have another teammate, Vishwas Bedekar. So the goals here were really to reduce the cost of education for students, as well as share my materials and learn from what other people were doing. So what we did, developing OER for engineering. The first book I'm going to talk about is the Engineering Capstone book. So this is a guide to senior design for engineering and engineering technology. This is the one I did with collaborators at East Tennessee State. And the reason that we wanted to make this one is because engineering capstone, or also known as senior design class, varies quite widely from across majors, across even different student projects. So for example, you might have 10 senior capstone projects going on, and every team is building a different machine. So they design, they build, they test the machine that they totally invent themselves. And it can be overwhelming for professors to teach a class like that. And so since I had figured out a good workflow for it, I was interested in seeing how they do it at other schools and then combining our resources so that we can make something that engineering capstone instructors everywhere who might be overwhelmed or be looking for like specific topics to cover would be able to use this book. And the other one is a robotics and controls engineering textbook. So this covers multiple courses. The robotics part of it is one that I focused on, and then my colleague Hongbo did the controls portion of the textbook. So we're using it in two different courses. The robotics is sort of the prerequisite for the controls. So why use or develop OER? For me, it was because textbooks are expensive. So these are a couple of common robotics textbooks. You can see that like average cost is over $100. And if you get the online version, it can be a little bit cheaper, but many of these are just overwhelmingly expensive for students who have to afford gas and housing and pay their tuition and all of that kind of thing. As well as many of them are over students' heads. So a lot of these particular topics were written at a graduate level, and we wanted something that would be a little bit more on the level of undergrad. So I'm going to open up now the actual book. So this is our book in Pressbooks. So here in the introduction, it has an overview of the way the book is set up. So we did it in 3 phases and assigned different chapters to each person. So I was responsible for this first part, which is the theory and applications of robotics. So one thing that conventional robotics textbooks do not really cover is application. So these chapters here on industrial robots and end-of-arm tool design, or like the claw, those are things that we could contribute that are really like to really fill a gap in what's currently available. And then some of the normal math topics you'll see here. And then Vishwas developed some references for his student robotics club to do. So they build little robots They compete. There's like small battle bots, or there's a micro mouse that navigates a maze, different things like that. And they go to national competition every year. So this is sort of a guide for his students to use in the club, that they can have a good design map for their robot. And then the last set of chapters, Hongbo developed these, and these are on control, so different types of controllers and control modeling. So we'll go into a little bit of the book. I'll talk about the robotics first, and then Hongbo will discuss the controls. So looking at here at the industrial robotics chapter, you can see that it covers a lot of different types of like applications, and then some of the really practical things students need to do is like how to choose the right robot to do a specific job and how to model and simulate it. So there's text here. There's also links that go to the particular manufacturer's websites. And then one thing that was really neat about Pressbooks is that we could load in a YouTube video, and then we can also set it to pause the video at certain points so that a question pops up. So you'll see here as the video is going through, I turn the volume off so you can't hear the talking, but this is going through how to spec a particular robot and choose it for a job. And then the video will pause. You'll see it says here, click for question. So the students can click on the question and then actually answer it here in the video to see if they understood what just got said. And then like Colin showed, there are also ways to put in these little embedded quizzes so that students can choose an answer and then check themselves. So this also allows you to type math. So if we go into the this chapter, one of the hardest things to do for an engineering textbook is type math. So like it's so much harder to type than words, but Pressbooks allows you to do that and to format it so that it can look nice. So you can see here that there are some videos, but there's also some mathematical equations. And then we also have embedded some slides where you can click on these, they'll bring up the slides in a new tab. And so the students can print these and follow along with the video or follow along in class with the instructor. So next we'll cover the controls. Hongbo, would you like to unmute?
Hi there, guys. Sorry. Hi. Yes. So I think here is, thank you for attention. So this textbook was written I think mostly last year, I think, and this year we try to use it. So particularly, this textbook including robotics and control here. So for example, it is including a few chapters control, right? So the control is actually is a little bit difficult to control. It's not something like an easy control, but we try to make it less difficult. And so the point being here is try to make hopefully make it very detailed, and so students have less hard time to do it. So in total, this control including I think 7 chapters, and mostly the first chapter Elissa is showing right now is introduction to state space. And so this is actually fundamental to like advanced control. So mostly you state space control. The reason you state space because is actually kind of like a cornerstone for modern control. Actually, most of this knowledge, actually most of them actually in graduate level, but I try to make this into level so undergrad student can follow. So we give pretty detailed equations, right? And also showing some like examples. Yeah. So drawing some diagram to showcase students how to follow better. Again, I don't think it's perfect, but I think it's better than my previous textbook, which is disaster. Students read it, they had no clue, absolutely no clue, and no one had clues. Everyone got lost. Yeah, I mean, textbook is disaster. It was disaster, I mean, but I try to use compensing that use my lecture notes. But now I feel I have better time, students feel a little happier. That's how I can put it. Thank you.
All right. So the second book that we did, this was with East Tennessee State University, was Engineering Capstone. So these are 3 books on Engineering Capstone. Again, these are all expensive. And one of the reasons that many instructors don't even use a book for Capstone, because it is hard to find a good one, and because the projects are so diverse, and so it can be really hard to find a good workflow. So the way that we structured this book was not necessarily assigning specific chapters to each person, but rather to build these around the ABET criteria. So ABET is the accreditation board for engineering and technology, and there are certain criteria that each course has to meet in an accredited program, but the capstone course has to meet all of the criteria. So sometimes it can be overwhelming to try and figure out how do you get 1 direct or 2 direct measures or 1 indirect measure of an assessment for every single criteria. And so we made an entire chapter that was devoted to each one. So you wouldn't necessarily work through this book in a linear fashion, like starting with chapter 1 and ending with chapter 7. You would just pull assignments based on whatever you need for your class at that particular time in their design process. We added an 8th chapter on career readiness because this is something that's not really covered in any class, but that students need to know. And so when they're a senior, that they really need to know it. And so this will help them prepare for jobs. So the way that we've set up each of the chapters in this book, I'll go to one as an example here. So this module is on design, and at the beginning of each chapter, we say which particular student outcomes for engineering and engineering technology it meets, and then a definition of the topic. And within each of these subtopics, we have it set up so the student will receive information. So this is text or video or downloadable slide deck or all of the above. And then it includes an activity that's related to their project. And so these particular activities are not specific to a certain type of project, but they help guide the design and prototyping and testing process for all students, no matter what their project is. So that's the way that this book is set up, and we're piloting it in our classes this semester. We spent last semester on development, but right now we're using it in 4 different capstone courses across both of our schools in several different majors. So we're excited to see from student feedback afterwards of what they like about it and how we can improve. So going back to the PowerPoint, other reasons for using or developing OER is that in engineering, there is not a lot out there. So if you scan this QR code, this will take you to the engineering libraries division where there is some free OER. Most of this deals with CAD or thermodynamics or programming. And none of those actually are classes that I teach. So there is OER in those particular areas, but we're lacking it in some of the other areas of engineering that are more focused on like mechanical or electrical or industrial, or even the basic classes. So I also wanted to learn from collaborators, and goals of the Board of Regents, I think, for putting out these grants is that it will help to reduce professor development time and standardize courses across the different schools in our state. So if we can use the same book and the same courses across different schools, then it'll be so much easier for students who are transferring from one to another, and everything is just a little bit more streamlined. It's easier to keep track of things. So a couple of things that we learned through doing this OER project, how to do one from start to finish, because I had never done one of these before and I didn't really know what to expect. But the workflow that we came out with was organize, implement, and polish. So the first step here is organization. You want to, anything needs an organized plan really to be successful. Otherwise, it is just an overwhelming nightmare. So the first step in the organization is to source OER. So going to a database that has OER in it, and your librarian can direct you to these. Our books are on OER Commons and also in MTSU's library, because you might actually find that OER already exists for the particular class or topic that you're going to teach, and then you don't need to create it. Or you might be able to build off of what exists already. So then finding resources, your librarian, what software you're going to use, anything like YouTube videos, anything that's free, basically it's considered open access and you can put it in your OER and then make a plan. So assigning different tasks to different people. So like who's going to develop what materials, that way everybody knows what they're responsible for. The next phase is implementation. So teamwork is really important here, making sure that each person knows what they're supposed to be working on and having some accountability so that you don't end up with scrambling at the last minute for anything. And then once everybody's got their assignments, you'll compile them. So have everybody put their materials into a shared drive where you can see based on your outline of what needs to be done of like, okay, what do we have here? And then what do we need to create? So the next step is creating new stuff if there are gaps that need to be filled. And so then once all of the materials are there, then you can conduct an internal review, like ensuring the quality and the correctness of all of the materials that are there and giving each other feedback for improvement. The final phase is polishing. So this is really like where it becomes to look more like a book. So we first revised everything from our feedback with each other and then formatted it into the Pressbook software. Not all libraries or not all schools will have a Pressbook subscription, but there are other free softwares out there that you can also use. So then once it is formatted in the book, before you release it to the public, it has to go through an external review. So this just ensures that all materials in there are compliant with OER so that you haven't like taken a diagram or a photo or something from a paid textbook or from some copyrighted source. And our librarian was able to do this for us and had some really great feedback. We also, when we upload our book to the OER Commons, then the people there who run that hub make sure that it's also compliant. And then finally, we published it, so making it open access so that anyone who has that URL can access it anywhere. And then there is also a way in Pressbooks to make it downloadable so that students can download it to their desktop and either print it or not have to have internet access to use it. So in conclusion, making OER is really fun. I didn't realize how much fun it was going to be, but once I got into it, it's so exciting to work on something that you know is really going to make a difference to students and that you're going to be able to see that difference. The digital possibilities are endless. So like making the downloadable documents so that they can follow along with their slides, interactive videos and quizzes so that they can check their knowledge, making it accessible so they don't have to pay any money, they can view it from anywhere. All of those are really great aspects of OER. And then being organized is extremely important. So for one of the projects that we were on, the capstone book, we had a really organized workflow. Everybody knew what they were supposed to work on. And we started this in the summer and we finished several months early, actually, so that we had plenty of time for reviewing revisions. The other project was a little bit rockier, but we all learned through the experience and got a lot more familiar with also being able to read each other's work and then learn from those things when it's not classes that we normally teach. So practice accountability is a really good idea to have regularly scheduled team meetings so that people have certain deadlines to get stuff done by. And ask your librarian for help because Ginelle was so helpful with directing us to like how to use the software, how to add the plugins. She helped me find the collaborators at East Tennessee State University, and she knows where all of the grants are. So she is a really good resource if you have any questions about OER. So know also that by doing this kind of thing, you're making a difference. So you're saving money for students, you're saving time for professors, and those are things that everybody can appreciate. So Hongbo, did you have anything else that you wanted to add about your experience doing this?
No, not too much. I think Ginelle is really the person to go, I think, and without her help, I don't think we can make it. We absolutely no clue, when we started. But with a couple like meetings, emails, we're able to get it, I mean, and we actually got like how many chapters? We got like 5. We got a lot of chapters in our book. Many chapters. Yes, I feel pretty happy, whatsoever get done, you know. Yes.
Thank y'all so much. I just want to say you guys did a crazy amount of work in a short amount of time because they got, especially Elissa was on 2 of these projects, and within like 6 months time, she had to put out these 2 different OERs, and so that was a lot of work, and I think it's really important. It's going to impact a lot of students because, especially in the STEM fields, there is a gap. There's not a lot of things out there right now, and those books are so expensive for students to buy. So you're definitely making a difference. So thank you so much. All right.